Dear friends and followers, and welcome to Ultimate CS2 Optimization Guide. If you are looking to elevate your Counter-Strike to experience to the next level, you are in the right place. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at setting up best latency, in-game video setting for your system, best FPS possible, amazing in-game audio settings, and everything you need to bring it all optimized.
Nice.
For other such guide like ranging from best optimization guide for NVIDIA AMD Intel GPU, Windows keyboard and mouse to best keybind for any game, stay tuned. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for more upcoming videos on these topics. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into the Counter-Strike 2 optimization guide. Let's start by opening up this CS2. Get over to the top left, there will be an option called setting menu. Click on that, then it will be opening up with a bunch of options where we'll be playing around. Here we will be setting around for low-end PC for low graphic settings and for the high-end PC for higher graphic settings. Let's start with the bottom settings. Laptop power savings is set to disable for default for all PC. For laptop user, if it's enabled, set to disable for getting more performance out of that. When it's set to disable, it will use your entire hardware resource and also increase your power consumption of your laptop. Do remember that. Now this will decrease your battery lifetime also.
Are you sure about that?
What I mean by decrease the battery lifetime is to decrease the amount of battery usage, and it will be decreasing the amount of the hours you will have if it's connected to AC. It's just well and good. Now let's move on to the refresh rate. Now mine is set to 240 Hz because my monitor is 240 Hz. Now if you are set to 120 or 60 or to 144, it's up to you. You can set to the highest as your monitor suggested in this option. Now mine is 240. I set to 240. If you're running the GPU and it will, if you're not getting that much FPS, like if you're having 120 FPS 120 Hz monitor and you're getting 60 FPS as a constant FPS, I would suggest you set the monitor to 120 FPS. That will give you some kind of less lag from the, I have tested that before. Now let's move on to the next one, display mode. From this I have tested a lot of things. From the full screen mode, setting this full screen mode will give you less lag and also give you more FPS and also consume less GPU as compared to other two options for windowed and full screen windowed mode, which will introduce some lags. Let's get to the next option, which is called resolution. Mine I'm running at 1920 by 1080p resolution. You can run, it's all personal preference. You can run 2K, 4K, depends on your resource. For me, I will run at 1920 because I want much less latency, and also you want to move around and shoot through that, right? If you are running at higher resolution, it will have a latency issue. I have noticed that. So even if you have enough GPU resource, you will have that latency. I will suggest you not go above 2K. Now moving on to the next option, for the aspect ratio, I'm running on the widescreen 16:9. There are three options. Normal 4:3 was used for so long ago. Now everyone moved to the widescreen 16:9, which I'm using. Now some people use widescreen 16:10, but I'm not using that, but it's also personal preference about yourself. Now let's moving on to the next option, brightness. Now for me, I'm set to the 100% brightness. Now this brightness for CS2 was set to 125 because it was so dark. Now this CS2 has improved and has a good lighting. I would suggest to decrease or keep it 100%. Most of the players saying that running the setting at 70% would be most good for them. This brightness is also called as gamma correction. Let's move on to the next. Main menu background scenery is set to inferno. By setting this option, when I hit the escape button, you can see that this background scenery will be changed to whatever you want. If you set to dust 2, here will be dust 2. Now let's go to the settings and go to the advanced settings in the top option and click on. Now in the advanced video setting, there is a bunch of options. Don't worry, we will go into one by one. Now starting off with the left side scenery, there is a crosshair where you can click on the mouse primary button, the fire button, and hold on to that and drag and move this mouse, and you can move wherever you want that crosshair. Let's place our crosshair right here, and now I want to zoom in. To zoom in, let's do scroll wheel up and scroll wheel down to unzoom. So now where this option is there, you can see in the down left there is a magnification where we will turn back to 8 to 2. It zooms in and zooms out. Now there's another mode called magnification mode where it's set to zoom. When we change this to big pixels, and it will have a box instead of a crosshair. Now what does this do? When we zoom in by using crosshair and placing onto him, you can see that the object is blurry, and because of the pixel of that object is costing here and it's stretching to really big, so that it looks like it. For our case, we will go back and select the zoom option. Now let's go to the now starting off from the top, we have player boost contrast. What does this do is that we have enable and disable option in here. When we enable the player boost contrast, the enemy or the object in front of you will have an outline showing white color, and it will be more eye-catching and visible to you. So I will highly suggest you to run the enable option for the boost player contrast. Let's move on to the next option. Here we have wait for vertical sync. What does it do is it's a v-sync mode. Always set to disable unless you have screen tearing or something like that. Because we are running on full screen, you might have full screen tearing when you don't run the game at 120 FPS. If you run the game at lower FPS like 60, I think you will have screen tearing, but I don't know if it has that. If you have that screen tearing, do recommend turn this on. Also, do remember that turning on this setting will introduce lag. If you are running with G-Sync, well and good, you can go and turn on the G-Sync. I will have another guide for that, how to enable the G-Sync for the monitor. Now let's go to the next option here. For my case, I'm running the V-Sync to disable. Now let's go to the next here. This is important. The current I'm running on custom profile. Now let's start with the multi-aliasing MSAA. Now for me, I'm setting to 8x because I have resource and I've set to 8x. If you don't, you can set it to this to off. At least set this to 2 if you can. Other than that, you can set to off. If you have resource, you can set to 8. It will make the edges sharper and you can see enemy much clearer through the gates or from the Inferno maps. It will be much easier to spot enemy from the distance. Now let's go to the next option, global shadow quality. Now set this to very high at the first and then work your way to go to the high, medium, and don't go to the low, because this game has a lot of shadow in it. So as you can see, the player also casts shadow. I know that CSGO has a player shadow, but this CSGO has a lot of shadow added to this. So I will suggest you to not go below the medium. I also suggest in the CSGO to not go to the medium, because whenever you have a player and you see a shadow, you know that player is there, right? That's why you should run with at least medium settings for this. This is the least where whenever you want to reduce, this is the least preference settings to change. Set to whatever you want and just forget and do other settings and come back and change this later. Now let's go to the model texture details. Now for the model texture details, I'm running it high. So what does this does? It improves the texture of your weapons, skins, the background, and everything in the object, or everything here will affect. When you set this low, you will not be able to see that much difference. But if you have less VRAM in your graphics card, then I would suggest you to go work your way from the low, work your way from the high to low. That way you can know how much VRAM your graphics card is being used. So for my case, I'm running it on high. Now texture filtering mode. This is also the filtering mode for the textures, and when setting this to binary, your texture will for few meters after that your texture will look blurry. So I would suggest you to use 16x if you have high graphics, or you start your way from 2x or trilinear or binary. It's all up to your personal preference. Now next, move on to the next one here, shader details. Now the shaders details you have from the low and high, but there is no very high last the CSGO. Now I have set to the highest shader detail because I have resource. If you don't have resource, just go to the low option. If you have resource, set to high. It will your game will look good. Now let's move on to the particle detail. Do set low. Why? I will show you. When we set to very high, look up the smoke here. So I will go and set the particle details to high. In a second, the smoke will have more effects, you can see here. And when I go back to set the particle effects to low, and you can see that we have less smoke coming out of that fire. I think this is not that important, because for the Molotov and smoke, it is not that useful, but still running on these low options is much better, because the smokes and the Molotov has highest effects on your PC, so that running on the low settings is preferred for most likely. Now let's move on to the ambient occlusion. Run this on disable. If you don't want that ambient, I will show you what does it means. You can see in the wall, when I set the ambient to medium, you can see that it introduced some kind of like cast shadow for the player in the wall, and this is what it does. When I go high, it does also the little higher little high. It will use little high graphics to render that object to that map from the wall. So that I will suggest you to run it disabled, because it is more, you can able to see the enemy much brighter and clearly without this ambient occlusion. This ambient occlusion is only being used for open world game where you need realistic output, so that you will, if you want realistic output, just set to high. Yeah, so if you don't, you want to get frags and get more kills, you set it to disable. And let's move on to the next. high dynamic range, I'm set to high. If your monitor sets having the HDR mode set to high quality. If you are running on the lowest graphics, set to performance. I don't think the setting performance and quality, just try to see. For my case, setting both doesn't do anything. So for me, setting quality does improve the visual of the game, so I set the high dynamic HDR to quality. Now let's go to the next one, Fidelity FX Super Resolution. In this option, I've set this to default, set to disable. Disable is the highest quality. If you are running on the lowest graphics, whatever you do in this and you cannot able to get more FPS, what you can do is here you can set this to performance. That will what does it make? The game will look so horrible, and you will get more FPS from that. For my case, I would suggest you to go with disable if you have high graphics setting. If you don't, you can go to quality, balance, or performance, work you are with. Let's go to the next option, NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency Mode. This option is not available for AMD GPU users. One of my friends did share the screenshot, so that I will share it here. Really thanks for him to supporting this video. And for the NVIDIA users, this is for NVIDIA user exclusive. There is 3 options to choose for the NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency option: disable, enable, and enable plus boost. What does it do? When it being disabled, this option means the NVIDIA Reflex Reflex is turned off, and you won't be able to benefit from its latency reduction feature. When it's been enabling this NVIDIA Reflex reduces the input lag by optimizing the render process especially in GPU bound scenario. This can be helpful for competitive gaming. Enable plus boost will enable the reflex with a boost, takes it a step further by dynamically adjusting in-game frame rate to further reduce the input lags. It can be useful for games where you want to prioritize the low latency over the high frame rates. So probably what I will suggest you guys to use the enable option when you have this is the best option when you have the older GPU where you want to have high FPS and also latency option. I would suggest to go for enable plus boost. Whenever the GPU is taking up a lot of resource, I would suggest you to go for enable plus boost. Otherwise, enable is pretty much the best option to select. Now let's go to the top where we clicked advanced video settings. Beside that, there is an option called HUD edge position. Click on that and it will open up a page where HUD edge position, and where there is 2 options: horizontal adjustment and vertical adjustment. By adjusting this, it will adjust your health bar, armor, ammo, and everything like that. For my case, I'm good with the 100% and click done. And now let's move on to the audio settings. In the top video settings, after that there is an audio settings. Click on that tab and there will be an audio setting. In this audio settings, we will be starting with the master volume. Master volume sets the audio for the entire audio which you set down below. For my case, I've set to 25 because I'm running mixer, and also that I can boost it outside the CS2. So for your case, you probably run 100%, so I will suggest you to run 100%. Now let's go to the next audio options, which is audio device. I set to default device. Most likely everyone using default device. Most likely people can change it through the Windows audio, or here if you want to change it, you can click this option from the drop down. You can change the audio devices, whichever you want: speakers, headsets, or most likely most of the people don't use 2 headsets in one PC, so default audio is pretty much what they need. Also, if you are using mixer like me, I am using the Windows audio to select. I'm selecting outside of the CSGO, not here, so that's why it's set to default audio. Now let's go to the next one. We have equalizer for the profile. So EQ profile for now, I set this to crisp because I like the scripts to hear the footsteps a lot louder. There are 3 options: natural, scripts, and smooth. To suggest you try all these, I will suggest you guys to use scripts audio. And let's go to the next one. L/all isolation is used to 3D isolation the audio from the player. So whenever you set this to about 0 to 100%, it's like making the audio more 3D. Like for my case, I'm not use this audio, but I probably try to use this in the future. Let's see how this kind of audio plays. For now, I have no idea, and I have not tested this audio. I will let you know how this audio feels like in the future video. And now let's go to the next one. This version correction is like always turn this on. This is the new option in the CS2, makes the audio much better, so always turn it on. For the voice enable, I've used press to use mic. In your case, you can use open to mic or disable as you can. Now voice over IP is like the player in the game who talks and you can hear the audio through your PC, through your headset. So I always suggest you to set 100%, or you can set to reduce your player's audio. If you want to reduce your player audio, you can do it in game, or you can reduce it here if you want to. Now let's go to the streamline push to talk. If you are running on push to talk, whenever you click the button push to talk, the game lags. You try to turn this on by clicking on the drop down and put this to S. And let's go to the next option, where play audio when game in background. So whenever the game is in background, set S will play the audio of the game through the background. In my case, I've set this option to S because I want to hear the game audio whenever I want to. I was in the background, right? This will help me to when I'm in stream, and when I want to go to the background and check the notification. This option will help me to see. They help me to have the game running and audio running to the users who are watching the stream. Now let's go to the music option, where also you can select, click on the top of the right where audio and music is right here. Always guys, don't ask me why, but set the music main menu volume to 0, round stop volume to 0, round action volume to 0, and round end volume at least 20%. That way you can know the round end volume, right? Then MVP volume is set to 0. If you want, you can put it. What does it mean? At the end of the player, the player will have the kit of the music will produce some audio. So in my case, I don't like that audio, so I probably select to 0. Now for the diffuse or bomb diffuse and hostage volume, you set to 20 so that you can hear the tick sound. So that for the before CS2 we will probably use like 15. So in this version you probably use 20 or more, like that. Most likely people say like using 35 is better. In my case, I'm using 20 because I'm running mixer and boosting outside the CS, so that's why I'm using 20. Maybe you should be probably going around like setting 35 and seeing if you want to increase or going to reduce this audio, like that. Now 10-second volume is what the bomb will tick a second. So that I probably set to the same. These two things will be same. And if you want to set this to 35, yes you can. And go ahead and work and try to see which setting you can change here. Now let's go to the dead camera volume. Now I don't like that dead camera volume to play it while every time, so I set this to 0. Now mute MVP music when player on the both teams or live. I set to no. Don't ask me why. I like this option, and this is pretty much what I like to have. We all are back to Inferno. If you want any guides on specific games or other video, comment down below. That's pretty much everything. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you don't, you know what to do. Consider like, subscribing and following. Hit that bell icon for more future videos. Once again guys, be awesome. Keep watching. Nihal Knight signing out.